Welcome to Mansfield Matters, your home for all things stat.
Craig's at the mic, his passion's bright, with metaphors you can't ignore, and anagrams that make us groan till everyone starts to moan.
Who is Randy Once?
We're the Mansfield Matters crew, making podcasts just for you. Some show up, some disappear, but the Stags bring us all here. Through the ups and downs we stay, talking Mansfield town every day. Where's Nathan gone? He's never on. The blind Stag's late, not gonna wait. Cam's watching Hollyoaks again. He's useless anyway. Let's just begin. We're the Mansfield Matters crew, making podcasts just for you. Some show up, some disappear, but the Stags bring us all here. Through the ups and downs we stay, talking Mansfield town every day. And now, introducing the world's greatest announcer. Alan brings the joy and light, while Clive keeps sense in sight. Nick's got shirts for every day. Jim's our super sub. Hey, hey! The chat rolls on. Your prediction. We give match reports and witty retorts, while Craig reads questions from his list that leave us all feeling pretty miffed. Time's almost up. Done! We're the Mansfield Matters crew, making podcasts just for you. Some show up, some disappear, but the Stags bring us all here. Through the ups and downs we stay, talking Mansfield town every day. That's all for this week. Probably. Ish.
It's true what they say, the subtlest of tweaks can make the biggest of differences. A win at Exeter, followed up by a win in midweek at home to Blackpool, means the Stags have very much turned a corner. But it's no coincidence that Nigel Clough has scrapped the five at the back for now in favour of a flat back four. The subtle tweaks have made a massive difference, and tonight on the Mansfield Matters podcast we'll discuss how those tweaks have brought the best out of certain players. We'll talk about the delightful return of the Bishop Street stand and the best stand toilets in the land. And we'll look ahead to a bid weekend where Leyton Orient come to One Call Stadium, followed by next Wednesday's trip to Everton in the Carabao Cup. Come and have your say on your team on the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield matters. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast, the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday evening. Really good to have you with us tonight, as always. And of course, we are here to talk all things Mansfield Town related. And tonight's episode is called Subtle Tweaks. And there is a subtle tweak on the Mansfield Matters podcast too. You may have noticed that the background has ever so slightly changed, which I need to sort out, because tonight we have the boring answer, really. We have changed streaming provider. So it's we're all playing with this live, so we don't know if this is actually working or not. So please do get your comments coming in. We'd love to hear from you tonight, and hopefully the show will go on as normal. And talking about the show going on as normal, let's introduce our normal panel, shall we? The man who seemingly disappeared for about 4 years, and then all of a sudden, Stag started winning a few games, and he's managed to pop back on. The blind Stag's late. He's going to make us wait, but he's here. It's Nathan Edge. Evening, Nathan.
Evening, Craig. Evening, everyone.
And the man who I think on Tuesday night must have been hanging out with George Maris because he's got an absolute stinking cold. Evening, Clive.
Good evening, everybody. This is my Butch voice you're now hearing.
Mansfield Matters sponsored by Lemsip, is it tonight, Clive?
Oh, I'm drugged up.
Well, let's hope it wasn't let's hope the drugs do work and get you through the next hour or so here on the Mansfield Matters podcast. But just in case it doesn't, I mean, he's not really the super sub because he's here every 2 weeks. So I think Nathan should rewrite the song, but that's AI for you. And a man who I can assure you, even though his face doesn't appear on screen yet, we're working on it. He's not AI. There's nothing AI about him. It's Jim Evans. Evening, Jim.
Evening, Craig. Evening, everybody. So I was just sorting out my circuit board there.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome.
It's good to have you with us as always. We'll start with you, Jim. It's been a fantastic week or so, hasn't it, for the Stags? This time last week, we were definitely all celebrating after beating the C word, and then we go down to Exeter, get a win late on there, and then on Tuesday night again we get a win at home. This is not the Mansfield town we came to expect this season, is it?
No, I think 7 days is a long time in football, isn't it? And football moves on quickly. And I think what was it? Someone said, "Tough times never last." And I know there was a lot of hysteria on social media after the 2 defeats, but I think you could always see there was a lot of good kit in our squad, and there was enough there to put a good team together. And it feels great to get a few wins on the board, but it's just the Mansfield Town ride, isn't it?
It is. There's an easy way, a hard way in a Mansfield Town way. Nigel Clough did say, Nathan, that it would click at some point. And I don't know about you. And, we did cover off the C word game last week on the podcast when I ended up in the same hotel as the Stags players, which was very weird on Saturday morning, seeing Nigel Clough eat his cornflakes. But anyway, we did sort of touch upon it last week, the impact that the C word game could have on the squad. And I don't know about you, but I felt in the opening sort of 2 league games that something needed to click within the squad. And what better way to make something click and to bring everyone together than rolling over your local rivals away from home on their own patch?
Yeah, it was a perfect draw really in the end, wasn't it? Even though we were, the majority of us were going into it, fearing the worst because of how we started the season and how they started the season. On sort of footballing terms, you may have expected that there'd have been a cup upset and we'd have got rolled over and it'd have been embarrassing. But like you said there, it made us come together in a different way, and we put in that battling performance. And I think we had to emphasise a little bit more defensively, which is where we were lacking prior to that match. So I think us putting in that sort of performance and getting the result, the battling performance, I should say, because obviously I don't think we played particularly well at the C word, but I think that gave us a bit of belief going forward, and that togetherness with the squad, belief going forward that we can defend, we can keep clean sheets. We got Liam Roberts, putting on his show and getting a lot of confidence in the Stags kit. But I don't think it needs to be overlooked as well, the fact that we've picked up quite a few injuries, and obviously it's a problem. But in some ways, I think that in itself, a bit like it has done in the past for us, has made us come together a little bit and all pitch in a little bit together as individuals, which has made us better, more solid as a team as well.
Speaking of pitching in, Clive, we certainly had to do that going to Exeter. Always a long journey, and to add a 12:30 kickoff into the mix wasn't great, but we were well backed by the travelling faithful, you and I included in that down there in deepest, darkest Devon. But the Stags were always also ravaged with injury, weren't they, going into that game? We made a signing a couple of hours before that. We'll talk about him in just a second because he's played a good role over the last couple of games. But, sometimes when you lose players through injury and you're down to the bare bones a little bit weird to be saying after 3-4 games of the season, but it sort of made us pull together. And it almost seemed like we were determined to actually come away with Exeter with nothing less than 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the injuries have forced Mr. Clough's hand, and perhaps he may not have done what he did had he got all of his players available. So in that respect, it's done us no harm. And reverting to a back four has been the success as far as I can see. The back four with a keeper in form behind them as well. We're going to win games, and we won. I think deservedly in Exeter. We looked like we were going to draw it at one point when they got their penalty, but they stuck at it, and in the end we deserved the win. And I think Chesterfield, as Nathan said, we didn't really deserve it on balance of play, but what we had at the end of the day was a clean sheet, and that's the basis of winning most things, and that was it. And it was interesting that young Evans clearly been getting some stick from some people, because when he scored his goal, he went over to the crowd and asked them to shut up. And said, "Come on, then, give me a bit of encouragement," which you should do, because we do unfortunately like to lambast our players when they're not actually doing what we think they should be doing. And he scored a good goal, and the reality is he's all right. He's found a bit of form. It's unfortunate he missed a penalty the other night, but he needs somebody with him. We know that, and we still have got that problem. But other than that, I think. The Clough's hand was forced, and what he ended up with was a stronger team.
I think one positive, Jim, we talk about the importance of the C word game going, sort of getting us into character for a bit. But I think just as important was winning in the manner that we did down at Exeter as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talk about the fine margins. We could easily have lost that game. I think Roberts, the 2 saves he made in the first half, that could easily have been 2-0. I think it probably would have been last season. And then when it was 1-1, he would say he hit that header over the bar. And I think those fine margins went our way. And that could easily have been a third straight league defeat. I think he's key. Roberts has proved he's key to what we're going to do this year. But it's nice to see him have a quiet night on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk more about the subtle tweaking tactics, as you might be able to see on the board. I'm hesitant to move this forward so you can see it more, because I moved it earlier. It fell on my foot, and I shouted several obscenities around the house. It took Harry the dog at least 5 minutes to come and check that I was all right. Anyway, but we're going to talk sort of tactical tweaks in a little bit, but I just want to focus on, obviously, go back to before the Exeter game, because if anyone missed it, obviously, they may have turned up on Tuesday night and seen a bloke running down the right-hand side with Dick off on the back of his shirt, and thinking, what on earth is going off here? Have I missed some news? Well, yeah, you did miss some news, because it was blinking. You miss it on Saturday morning, and that is that Mansfield Town are delighted to announce the signing of forward Max Dickoff on a 1-year deal following his departure from Premier League outfit Brentford. This is what was on the club's website on Saturday, by the way. The 23-year-old signed for the Bees B team, that's a mouthful, in the summer of 2022. After spending the majority of the previous season on trial with the West London side, the Manchester-born youngster, who is the son of ex-Manchester City striker Paul Dickoff, arrived in the capital after spending time with Stockport Town, who competed in the North West Counties Football League Division 1 South. Max also enjoyed spells with Manchester City and Oldham Athletic before his move to Stockport Town. So a little bit of an unknown signing, Clive, for us. However, it was clear that we needed to add something into the ranks with injuries left, right and centre. And what we had lacked in the opening couple of games or so was a little bit of pace in those wider and forward areas. And I think when, it looked like Tumble was going to be out, and then obviously Reece Oates picked up a bit of an injury, didn't he, at the C word. We needed to add one more in the rank, especially with a certain Mr. Gregory still yet to have his future sorted. You're muted. I can't hear you. I think you might have muted yourself.
Sorry, fellas.
There you go.
I turned it off because I've been coughing.
No worries.
The fact we didn't know him doesn't really matter, because clearly the Clough's recruitment structure knows all about him, and they must have had the confidence to go and bring him in. He brought some pace, he brought some enthusiasm, and the guy's keen to develop, and I think that's a good thing. And the fact that because of the circumstances, he was able to get involved very quickly is no bad thing.
Yeah, certainly isn't. It's an interesting one, Nathan, isn't it? You know, pretty much an unknown quantity, but a 1-year deal. There's nothing to really lose from deals like that, is there?
No, not particularly. It was interesting that even after he signed, I think it was a press conference on Monday, Nigel Clough still mentioned about bringing a striker into the club. So I don't know if it's still looking at adding to the numbers, you know, and that aside from Gregory as well, whether he might come in it. So there's still potential developments to be done there. But yeah, I think from the point of view of the club, the fact that we brought him in on a 1-year deal, I'd imagine there'll probably be some sort of clause in there like we do with most players these days, is to add on an extra year come the end of that contract if it's been a successful season for him. So I think it probably works both ways. It's a chance for him to prove himself at, in league football, which is not had that opportunity thus far, and it's cover for us that we need, especially when we've already picked up a couple of injuries in that forward department. So it's a good bit of business, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do, because so far with the half an hour or whatever he did on Saturday, and then the performance he put in on Tuesday night is like he'll do more than a good enough job for us.
Yeah, it looked like he was hungry, didn't he, Jim, on Tuesday night? We saw him for a little bit at Exeter, the last sort of 5-10 minutes or so, came on and gave us a little bit of pace, which actually, helped in some ways for us to go on and win the game. And on Tuesday night, I wasn't actually surprised to see him start. I was surprised to see him start in the positioning he did, which was a more attacking left midfielder sort of role rather than out and out forward, which perhaps, goes back to what Clough was saying about, still wanting to bring an out and out centre forward in. But looks like he's got, bags of pace, enthusiasm, and, with it being a 1-year deal, there is literally nothing to lose on it at all, is there?
That's it, nothing to lose. I shouldn't think the numbers are very big in the deal. And he showed flashes of talent and ability, and he's got a bit of pace. He's clearly quite raw. You can tell he's very sort of, he hasn't got much match experience at league level. But why not? I mean, some great players come from non-league backgrounds, don't they? We have got nothing to lose. But I agree with what Nathan said. I still think, particularly in this new system, for example, we need a striker who can hold the ball up to facilitate all these plethora of sort of attacking midfield type players that we've got. And I don't think we've got one in the building, someone who can play comfortably with the back to goal. And that is desperately needed to facilitate getting the best out of everybody else around it. And I'm sure one will come.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, there's still, a week or so left of the transfer window. I know that Clough seems to be putting his eggs in the Gregory basket, Nathan, but I'm sure he's got irons in the fire elsewhere. And if you read a little bit more between the lines as well, he definitely hinted that, the Everton Cup deal has perhaps given us a little bit more to spend in the budget to try and chase 1 or 2 targets and things like that. So it's one of those with Clough, isn't it? He always holds his cards very close to his chest. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, a decent centre forward sort of come in if the Lee Gregory deal doesn't pull off. And to be honest, I wouldn't actually be surprised to see another centre forward come in and Lee Gregory still sign a contract.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, I think even if Gregory does sign, the fact that it's taking this long, and obviously if that happens, it's going to be quite a high risk anyway. So we probably still need somebody in regardless. But exactly like you said there, what he mentioned in his press conference about we haven't paid a fee for anybody. The Everton draw gives us that, extra funds to either go out and pay a fee for somebody, or even, might free up wages to bring in another loan deal where we can contribute more, or offer a more appealing deal to a free agent that's still out there at the moment. There's, it certainly sounds like, from reading between the lines of what he said, he's under the impression that he's been given the green light from the chairman and whoever that we can utilize those funds that are going to be gained from the Everton match. So that's obviously another bonus of beating the C word, isn't it?
It certainly is. I forget that Nathan can't see that. I had a swig of tea in my mouth as you were saying that. I wasn't expecting.
I mean,
if I could
see, I'd have done that on purpose. So
I know you would. I know. Yeah, I think it's a good deal for us bringing Dick off in. I like the look of the lad. I think he's got a bit of pace about him, got a bit of something. Be think we'll be bringing a centre forward in and maybe paying a fee for someone, maybe nicking a centre forward from somewhere who's on the fringes.
Craig, don't forget we've got the young Forest lad to come back from injury as well. He's by reputation an excellent and quick striker. He's not the one that can have his back to goal, but maybe Lucas Aikins will provide that when he comes back.
Yeah, quite possibly. But again, it's whether you want to wait for that to come off, and then even then, without going into the logistics of it, because we don't know the ins and outs of it, it's probable that Lucas Aikins won't be available for every single game because he's going to be out on license. So there'll be stipulations to that. Might not be even available for certain away games if overnighters are involved and things like that. So I think Aikins being
squad amount as well, isn't it? Because you're limited to the amount of players you can have in a squad, and then isn't it only if they're under a certain age where you can sort of add to it? So it might be another reason why we might end up having to look at younger players as well.
Yeah, which is
I don't know the exact rules on it. It might be worth looking into, but that could
Clough did say, but I can't remember where it was. It might have been at one of the fans forum nights where he explained about the ruling. So I'd have to go back and trawl through the videos to get the exact sort of thing on that. But definitely, there is sort of limitations around that as well. So it'd be interesting to see who we did bring in. I think if we are going to go out and sign somebody, it will be with the next 2 to 3 years in mind on that as well. So plenty still to come. I do feel like Dom Dwyer can do the back to goal sort of thing, but I think he's like Will Evans. I think he will work better in a 2. And the system that we played on Tuesday night at least was one up front, an out and out striker, flat back 4. McDonnell and Reed sort of sat in that little bit of a passage of that's the corridor where we try and make things work, and then Bolton, Henry, who had a really free role, and then Dick off on the left hand side in that attacking midfield really did work. So we definitely need to complement that. One other thing though to look at, Clive, is we're going to have players coming back in who are going to be knocking on the door. Maybe on Saturday we might have Ryan Sweeney back available. In a couple of weeks' time, we might have Dave back available, etc., etc., etc. When these players come back in, there'll be a question over where do we accommodate them? What system do we accommodate them in? Because I think it definitely suits our playing style better, playing with the flat back 4. And at the minute, you can't discount the centre-back pairing of Jordan Bowery and Bailey Cargill.
No, all things being equal, if everybody who played the last game are fit and healthy, you'd start with them. In my opinion, and it's always been the case that players who are coming back have to have a degree of patience and a degree of luck to get on the squad. I like what's happened, and again, I'll go back to what I said. I think some of it's been not by design, but by the impact of change enforced. Is our back 4 are defending further up the field than we were doing in the first 2 games, which made the midfield smaller. And it's no mistake that our 2 midfielding pairings have both had really good games for 2 games. And because of that, it's allowed the roving brief of 1 or 2 others, like Hendry, who I hadn't really seen the jury was out on him before the last game, but he was given the role which showed you what he can actually do. Apart from being able to take corners, he actually was very close in many people's eyes as to man of the match. So I think the whole thing pushing the team further forward was good, and I can't see where we missed Dave in all that. I mean, we'd all start with Dave, wouldn't we, in theory? But would you put him in would you break into what we've already got at the moment? I don't think you would.
Yeah, it's an interesting quandary to have. Let's talk about Hendry for a minute, Jim, because, I agree with what Marie said in the comments here that, see if this works. Hendry had the best game in a stag shirt on Tuesday night. Shame he didn't get on the score sheet. Yeah, he was, really instrumental at times, wasn't he, Jim? On the ball, and I think that again is down to the subtle change in the system. Before, he was very much in a compact midfield. When the wing backs are pushing up, you've almost got 5 or 6 flooding the centre across the pitch and doesn't give him free roam. But in the role in the 4, it's almost akin to what we used to play with Davies Keeler-Dunn, isn't it? He's got that free role in behind the front line, can link up with the midfield, get on the ball, drag defenders out of position, really get creative across the pitch. And, he had some lovely passes, some lovely runs, and 2 terrific corners, which led to a score in both goals.
Yeah, I thought it was his best game by a mile for us on Tuesday. And I think Clive's right. The midfield is smaller at how we're set up now. And it suits someone like Henry because he's not the fastest or the most athletic. And he doesn't want loads of ground to cover. And now he's got a smaller sort of area he needs to cover and he's high up the pitch. He can damage and really show us what he's got. And we're really seeing the best of him. And let's not forget, a formation aside, he's probably, new area of the country, new club. It takes a bit of time to settle in anyway, like it would anybody in any job. I really think he's showing his worth because I wasn't sure about him at first. But I think he was brilliant Tuesday night. And yeah, I think he's on merit and he keeps the shirt, I think.
What did you make of his performance on Tuesday, Nathan? He seemed to get on the ball quite a lot. He was quite involved. And, we've spoken for years, haven't we, on this podcast about us not being a threat from set pieces because we can't put a decent delivery in the box. Every single set piece that he put in the box on Tuesday night, Regan Hendry, was absolutely spot on. It caused problems, and it's nice to now put that fear into teams that they won't want to concede a corner against us, so they'll be a little bit more hesitant in and around the box, and that has a positive impact.
Yeah, I mean, we are quite a big side. I know it wasn't the biggest players that got on the end of it on Tuesday night with McDonald popping up with a header because he's certainly not the largest, but you've got. Bailey Cargill's decent in the air. You've got Sweeney who should be able to contribute. Bowery as well. You've got a lot of players there, so I think that's particularly important if we can become more effective from set pieces, especially in the games where we had much more possession in the in the opposition's half on Tuesday night because let's be honest, Blackpool were surprisingly very, very poor. And we were playing better. So, but there's going to be games where we're going to be a lot more under the cosh. But when we do get up the other end and get a set piece, that's where you want to be taking, be able to take advantage of that. And so if we can utilize that more, again, like by getting somebody first of all taking the corners who can put a decent ball in, you'd like to think eventually, some of those. Larger players that we've got in there, we'll be able to get on the end of them and be able to, snatch a few results from that.
Yeah, I think we saw it a little bit on Saturday Extra as well, didn't we, Clive? We put some decent corners in the box. We ended up scoring from one with Fraser Blake Tracy. You think when you get Dave back in the side, you think when you get Sweens back in the side as well, 2 towering players who are going to cause an impact. It is an added weapon into your box, and then you even look at it as maybe Bowery going forward, or you look at Dom Dwyer or Elliot Hewitt or whoever. We've got that stance in there, and if we can put decent set pieces in, it really does add to a good weapon to your armoury.
Sorry, I'm switching myself off all the time. To have someone who can take decent free kicks or corners is great because we've not really had that for a while, and of course having some bigger players that can go up and contest the ball in the air, that doesn't necessarily result in them scoring. What it does do is put the defence under complete pressure, and they capitulated to that pressure, both the goals. And somebody in midfield who's sharp enough and reacts quickly enough is going to benefit from that. And so I think we'll get plenty of midfield goals this season based on what I saw against Blackpool. Blackpool weren't the best team in the world, but having said that, they come away from a previous game when they beat Huddersfield with 10 men, so that they've got the capacity to play well. I don't think they played particularly well against us, but then you could argue, did we let them? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think for me, Jim, we're talking about we spoke about Regan Hendry. I want to touch upon Jamie McDonald and Jamie Reid. Not Jamie Reid, sorry, Lewis Reid. Thinking about ex-players, Nathan. Thinking about ex-players. We've gone back 4 years.
Yeah, get him in. Get him in.
Where's Omari when you need him? No, Lewis Reid, Jim, and obviously Jamie McDonald. McDonald scored twice, and like Clive alluded to there, it's the the prowess and the presence of the bigger players really do sort of, help us out a little bit in creating those gaps for players to come into, whereas and allow McDonald to score. But I think it was more his defensive work and having that pairing with, with Reed is going to be vital. Nigel Clough basically said in his post-match, didn't he, that the way that he wants to set up is to have Reed and McDonald as the defensive midfield too. It hasn't worked with the three centre-halves behind them because they get too swamped and taken out of the position. But playing 4-2-3-1 or, a diamond really suits them, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think the problem before was in the old formation was that McDonald and Reed, they both wanted to occupy the sort of same area of the pitch. And I think this tweak, you're getting your best players, as in those two, for an example, on the pitch, and you're still getting the best out of them. And it does really work. It has clicked for them in that sort of way. And you might say it's a negative going to a 4, but McDonald, he can cover a fullback, so that fullback can still get up the pitch and add to the attack. And I think he's not particularly flashy or eye-catchy, but he does so much protection work, that back 4, it's unreal. And I think, I'm sure it's not lost on the back 4. And I think it really does get the best out of them. And I think Clough alluded to it, didn't he? McDonald, Reed and the two centre-backs, that box was key to the base of the performance on Tuesday night. And those two are going to be key this season. And I think it's the real engine room of the side.
Yeah, very much so. It's what you need. I know I gave him a nickname earlier in the season. I am changing that to the nickname to the Artful Dodger, though, Nathan, because he picks a pocket or two, does Jamie McDonald, a.k.a. the Artful Dodger.
Nice, well done. Yeah, I think it's if they can get a bit of a partnership going in that midfield, and sort of it'll be strengthening that sort of spine of the team down the centre, then it should then unleash some more of the creative players to do more, going forward. I just hope the fact that Sweeney's going to be back. Obviously, he's captain, so you sort of would expect him to play. But I hope it's not a matter of let's go back to the back 3 just to accommodate that, and it sort of takes us backwards to what we've sort of been able to build over the last 2 or 3 games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But it's good to see, a young lad in McDonald. He's starting to settle in now, like we've said about some others as well. And it's still early days, so you like to think that would only improve going forward. So it's positive. It's nice to be sat here talking about a lot more positives than where we were just 2 weeks ago, because it was sort of concerning with the start we got. But we are starting to see a little bit more about what we were initially excited for, what we hoped that a lot of these players would be able to bring to the team.
I think what I really like about the Artful Dodger, Clive, is the fact that the way he plays, he can get on the ball, he can pass the ball if he needs to. He's stronger than what people give him credit for in the air, as we saw with the 2 goals that he scored on Tuesday night. But more importantly, it's his positional awareness. He can, from that midfield 2, he can drop back in and become the third centre back and allow the 2 wing backs or the 2 full backs to go higher up the pitch and drop back into that 3. But also, he covers a lot of ground. We saw it at Burton, didn't we? We complimented it then. He comes from nowhere, gets stuck into the challenge and wins 99.9% of them. And then that will allow a more creative player like Lewis Reed to nip in and get the loose ball, or even Bailey Cargill. We saw some good highlights from him on Tuesday night, and get us moving again. We need that player to go and pick that pocket and to be stern in the challenge to allow our shape to go forward. We need that. It's almost akin to watching Gladiators and the Gauntlet, just bopping people out of the way for fun.
I can't qualify your comment about Gladiators, but
you're missing out.
I am. The fact is, he's a schooled player. He's intelligent. He's fit, and he's not frightened. And those things together make him a very powerful player. He's obviously not ready for senior football at Forest, but I think that's the way he'll end up. I think if we look after him and develop him for a year, I think the Irish lad's got a real future. Yeah, massive future. What have you made of Jamie McDonald, Jim?
Very good. He's the kind of player we've not had for a while, to be honest with you. Since Ollie Clark was a bit more further up the pitch, but we've been missing that kind of player for the last couple of years. He's provided real stable, And I think he gets under the skin of a couple of players. Only number 14 for Blackpool didn't like him very much. I think other players from other teams are wary of him and they perhaps avoid him after a while. I think exactly what we've needed, because the amount of times in the last few years teams have just walked through the middle of our midfield, that don't happen anymore. And I think it really is. He's a strong vertebrate of a strong spine there. We just need that striker now who can hold it up, and then the spine is there.
That's exactly what we've needed. I think what it's also done, Nathan, is bring out the best in Lewis Reed, going back to, playing the 4-2 formation with the back four, and with McDonald alongside him. Lewis Reed, he just looks a lot more confident with that space, that awareness around him, and that ability to then get on the ball and do what he does best. He looks lost when we've got three centre backs behind him, but when we're playing a flat back four behind him, it's almost like his eyes light up like a kid on Christmas morning.
Yeah, the first few games of the season, he was looking well off it, and it was quite.
I'm going to be honest. Even last season when we played the same system, he didn't.
Yeah,
I'd have happily seen him go in the summer if that was the way we're going to continue with him.
Yeah, that's what, and like I say, that then it continued the first couple of games, and it was looking really concerning, because it looks like, Clough was really sort of sticking with him as well. So that was a worrying factor. But to see that, I mean, we have seen him. We do know there is a good player in there. So it's hard. You don't want to be too harsh on him, but he did after that, like I say, that bad start. But as I sort of mentioned there a minute ago, if he can build up a bit of a partnership with McDonald, which sort of releases him a little bit, puts a little bit less pressure on him defensively, even though he's still sort of doing that role. But with McDonald doing more of that work, and then it frees up Reed for him to start picking out some of those, those passes that he can do when he's really on it, without worrying too much about being, leaving his position behind him too loose or anything like that. So if that starts to work as a partnership between them, then that's only going to benefit him individually as a player, but obviously our midfielders in general as well. So I'm hopeful that sort of that partnership will carry on building.
It's like Charlie's just said in the comments, Clive, as well. It's the formation really which allows players like McDonald, Hendry, Reed to express themselves. And it really showed on Tuesday that the players that they are. I think that's absolutely spot on. And, there will be times this season where we have to go back to the back three and play with wing backs and try and be a little bit more defensive. But I think when we're at home, we should try and stick with the back four as much as we can. And really, like Charlie alludes to in his comment, let those creative players have that freedom of expression and try and, really dominate teams.
Well, it's working with the personnel we've got available at the moment. And if it's working, you don't mess around with it. But I take the point that there are going to be oppositions that we need to deal with that will demand a different formation. And that's the creative approach that a coach and manager should make. But I remember Reed, when he played for Swindon against us at our place, and they got 5 passes. He ran the game from midfield.
Yeah,
and that's the sort of player we know he can be. Really astute passing, diagonal passes over long distances. We've seen a bit of that, and I think that's coming through in this formation.
Yeah, very much so. Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. Interesting one from Emily. I think it's her birthday today, by the way. If it is, happy birthday. If it's a different Emily, ignore what I just said. I don't want Sweeney to come back as a starter at the moment, she says. What we had on Tuesday was just magic. What do you make of that, Jim? Because it's an interesting one. Sweeney, when fit, will undoubtedly come back in as club captain. But again, it's like we alluded to earlier. Where do you accommodate him when we're trying to play this particular formation?
I don't think he will. I think Clough showed last year with Flint and Kilgore that just because they're club captain in inverted commas, they don't just walk back in. And I think I'm not knocking Sweeney. He's his own player, his own style. But for what we're trying to do on a stock normal day in the league, I just don't think he's in our starting 11. I think the skill set he's got and the type of centre back he is not what we ideally need. And I think Bowery is more mobile. He's got more on the ball, and he suits better what we're trying to do. And he's the balance to Cargill, who's just excellent at the minute. And I think, Sweeney, perhaps for Northampton or Lincoln might be relevant, but on an average game, I just don't think he fits how we're trying to play. And I don't see him walking while we're playing like this. I don't see him getting back in the side, and I don't think Clough's right to do that, to leave him out.
No, he's not.
I really
And
don't.
I think he's mature enough to understand that and go, just because I've got the armband doesn't mean that I walk into the starting 11 week in, week out. However, Nathan, I do have to think back to when Sweeney was first here. I think sometimes, we forget that he wasn't just part of the Graham Coughlin era. He was also here under the better times when we had, Dave as manager, and we had, Big Steve before that. He was part of a regular back four alongside Christian Pearce and showed his worth, and has gone away and done exactly the same thing, other clubs, Dundee, Burton. Yeah. And as Charlie's just said in the comments, I think you maybe see a different Sweeney in a back four probably as well. And it's difficult to overlook that, isn't it? He's not just a one-sided player.
Yeah, I it's hard. I agree with what Jim said. It's hard to say. You wouldn't want to move any of the back four that have, in the last couple of games, because they've, defended admirably and then they've stepped up to when they've had to. But like you've just said there, Sweeney has shown that he can play in a back four, so we may see more from him. We haven't really. He's more featured in the back three, hasn't he? So we may see more from Sweeney in that back four, which would be better. Which would be, to our loss of Bowery or Cargill, you'd probably say most likely would be Bowery, wouldn't it? But it's the thing is as well, and I've just erring on the side of caution. It's been 4 league matches, and Blackpool didn't test us at all. No. Particularly defensively. So I know we defended as a team well, but I think we've got a lot more challenges to come ahead. And that's where we're going to really see how effective the back four is with Bailey and with Bailey and Jordan back there, and the other players. There's going to be a lot more tougher matches ahead. So I don't think this is the answer to all our problems at the moment. I think we have to see what happens, really.
I think we also have to, look at the side that we played at the C word as well. Bowery played right back. I think Sweeney played in that one, didn't he, in a back four? So he can play there. It's an interesting quandary. Marie's asked us, when all are fit, what would your starting 11 be? We will answer that question, but I want to give you all 10 minutes or so to think about that. But I agree with what Nathan said, Clive, to be honest. Blackpool, as good as potential they are, Steve Bruce, their manager, was raging after the game. He didn't feel like his side were up for the challenge, especially from set pieces. I don't think they offered too much. And you look at the Leyton Orient test on Saturday, and it will be completely different. They're a side who have lost 1 game in the last 11 league matches. They're contenders for promotion again this season. They're very unlucky not to miss out last year. And every time we've played them over the last few seasons or so, it's always been a tough test. And I think whenever we come up against a Richie Wellens side as well, we always do tend to struggle. So it'd be an interesting one to see the difference in what the opposition, put in front of us. Because again, I don't feel like extra offered up too much against us either.
I think you've got to remember that one of the reasons we weren't taxed as much as we might have been is our midfield was playing well. A lot of the potential attacks would be breaking down in midfield because we were playing well in midfield, which is different. It's meant that the back four had got a much more relaxed view of the game. Now, that won't be, I'm pretty sure that won't be the case on Saturday against Leyton Orient. I think they've got far more firepower than that. And going back to who you choose in the back four, I mean, I'd stay with what we've got, but let's remember there's going to be injuries during the season. Cargill ain't going to go that much longer without another injury. It's just in his game, it's in his physiology. And, let's remember, our friend Mr. Bowler is getting on a bit, so we do need that strength in depth. And I don't know whether it would bring Sweeney straight back in or not. It's not really. It's difficult to tell. I wouldn't, but I think Clough might bring him back in. We'll see.
We'll start having a little.
I mean, the other thing is, if you have a back four, there's nothing to stop you having a powerful, a big defensive-minded player in front of him. That's the position that Dave used to play.
Yeah.
Just in front of the back line, and that's another way of stopping a more powerful side getting to you.
Certainly food for thought. We're going to go through what if everybody was fit, what our starting 11 would be. We're going to do that in a couple of minutes. So, gentlemen, start having a little bit of a think. And if you at home want to suggest yours, personally, I'd play Adam Collin. Get your comments in and let us know in the live feed comments if you want to let us know what your preferred starting 11 would be if everybody was fit. Also, let us know your chosen formation. Would you go 3-5-2 with wing backs, or would you go with the 4-2-3-1 which we played on Tuesday night against Blackpool? Let us know your thoughts, and we'll be back just after this.
We're the Mansfield Matters crew, making podcasts just for you. Some show up, some disappear, but the Stags bring us all here. Through the ups and downs we stay, talking Mansfield Town every day.
You're back with the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday evening. Right, get your comments in now and suggest your starting 11, your preferred starting 11, and we'll see what people come up with. Nathan, I'm going to start with you. What would be your preferred starting 11 then? If everybody was fit.
I thought you were just going to literally say, all right, you pick the keeper. All right.
No,
that picks itself, let's be honest, with how he's played. And it's Stags Chat said in the comments earlier about Roberts. I mean, he does certainly pick himself with how he's played in the last few games, 100%. But this is really difficult because I don't think we've seen we've actually got it feels like we've got quite a big squad, and we haven't actually seen much really in 5 games, is it? Yeah, 5 games it's been, hasn't it? But
4 League One Cup,
yeah. So Roberts, I think I've been impressed with Maka, so I'd put him at left.
Can I just clarify? Are you going with a back 4?
Back 4, yeah.
So
it'll be Roberts, Maka back left, centre back 2. I'm gonna have to go simply because he's captain. It's gonna have to be Sweeney and Dave, even though we haven't seen him this season. Right back. Now this is tricky because it could be Hewitt, it could be Bowery, it could be Noyle, but I think I'm going to go with Hewitt. And this is where
so you're going for the 4-2-3-1 then, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that.
Yeah, go on then. Who's your midfield 2? Your defensive midfield 2?
You want me to name the whole lot, or are we just gonna throw it
No,
out
the
there
defensive midfield 2.
All right. Well, again, McDonnell and Reed.
Yeah, picks itself, doesn't it?
Yeah,
your attacking midfield 3.
So, I mean, Hendry is going to be I know he had a bit of a slow start to the season, but he's going to be a key player, I think, going forward. We saw that on Tuesday night. So there's certainly Hendry, Maris, and it would be Oates. Oates would be on that. He'd do that dick off role that he did Tuesday night, and then obviously up top I'd still go with Evans with Dwyer on the bench. So
you're going to play an injured player?
No.
This is if everybody's fully fit.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's Nathan's choice. So Clive, what's yours going to be?
Not a lot different, in all fairness. I like to see Maka in the side. Whether he's got persistently 90 minutes in his legs, I don't know. Hewitt does very little wrong, and he brings a little bit of pace down the right-hand side. But I don't know. Midfield, you can't do anything with midfield, with defensive midfield. Where does Bolton fit in all this, by the way? Because I've not seen enough of him to say what his best role would be.
I think for me, he put in a decent performance-ish on Tuesday night. I think he's got a lot of work to do to get fitter and get back to the fitness that he was at previously at Salford. But I think his position suits the formation that we're in on the right-hand side of the attacking midfield 3. For me, that's probably where he's going to do the most damage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd slot him there then. That would be and based on that, he's got to get better than he has been because he'll develop. I think he is a bit unfit, as you say, but he has got a pedigree, and I think ultimately we want to exploit that. There's no point in signing him unless we're going to use him. And then up front, I don't know, Oates if he's fit, alongside the Welshman.
Okay, so interesting that you've not really gone for many different changes in
No,
there.
no,
Would your
no.
centre backs be the same? Would it be Dave and Sweeney, or
If you're going to go for the formation that we've got, I think I'd stick to what we started with on Tuesday night. In all
Interesting.
fairness,
Yeah.
but I do like what Macca brings to the party, and no one else in the squad does it quite like him. But I'm a big fan of Hewitt. You know, he's had some bad luck injury wise. I don't think he's ever got back to the levels of fitness and performance he had before his injury. But again, he just gives you that width and pace.
Jim, what are you going to go for? Are you going with the same formation, or are you going for the back three?
Same formation as Tuesday, because I think that gives us the optimum on and off the ball.
Yeah.
And I go Roberts in goal. I go Noyle, Dave, Cargill, Macca. And then in the double pivot, McDonald, Reed. And then I go the attacking three. Can I include Gregory in this?
Technically, I'd say technically no, because he's not signed. But yes, because I think he is going to sign. So yeah.
Okay, Gregory's my front runner in the number 9 shirt. My three, my attacking three, is Evans on the left, Hendry middle, Bolton right.
Yeah, so it's not a bad call, to be fair. For me, it's a tricky one. Obviously, I'm going with Anthony Nunes in goal. No, obviously, Sully and Roberts in goal. It's a really, really tough issue. I think everybody is fit. If everybody is fit, I think I'm going with Hewitt at right back. I like Kyle. I think he ran for days and days. I think he's still running now from Tuesday, but I think he's a really good asset to bring off the bench when Hewitt eventually breaks down after 60 minutes or whatever, and really give defenders something to think about. We can also slot into centre back if needed. I'm going with Dave because Dave was. You cannot forget that Dave was an absolute colossus for us last season. I think he will still have the same impact as he did last season. And I'm going to be controversial, to be honest. And I know like everybody is pretty much included Bailey Cargill. I think he's a terrific talent. But if everyone's fit, I think I'm going Sweeney. I'm going to have to put the captain in there to go there. And then left back. Do you know what? As much as I want to include Stephen McLaughlin in a back four, I'm not going to put him in that position. I'm going to put Fraser Blake Tracy there. I think he's been terrific for us so far. But that doesn't mean to say that I'm not including Stephen McLaughlin. Obviously, the defensive midfield too has to be Reed and McDonald. I think they're terrific. Although, if you're being nitpicky, you could potentially move Reed a little bit higher and potentially put Dave in there to accommodate Cargill at the back. So many different options, but for me, Reed and McDonald. My attacking midfield three: Oates on the right hand side, Maris in the middle, and I know I've left out Regan Hendry, but I'm sorry. I think he's a fantastic talent, but I think Maris has got a bit more to give and a bit more of a point to prove, maybe. And I'm going with McLaughlin on the left hand side of the attacking midfield three. I think I think him higher up the pitch would do some real damage. You saw the goal that he scored in the first home game of the season where he just drove from that position and hit one. And then my out and out centre forward. I don't think in that formation of a 4-2-3-1 that Evans is good enough. I don't think he can play with his back to goal enough. I think we've got to have someone who's a little bit more bulky, a little bit more able to be a bit more dominant in the air. So I'm going with I'm going to have to go with Tumble Dwyer, I think, in that one. So many mixed opinions. There's a few of you in the comments that have shared yours. Matt's gone for Roberts, Hewitt right back, McLaughlin left back, centre back pairing of Sweens and Cargill, McDonald, Hendry and Reed in the middle, with Bolton right wing, Dickoff left wing, and Evans as the centre forward. Roberts, Macca, Dave, Bowery, Sweeney, McDonald, Hendry, Maris, Reed, Dickoff, and Evans, says Stag's chat. Emily says Roberts, Cargill, Macca, Dave, Bowery, McDonald, Reed, Hendry, Bolton, Dickoff, Evans as centre forward. And lots of like Emily says, there's a lot of different choice in there. And do you know what? That's a beautiful headache for Nigel Clough to have, isn't it, Clive? The fact that we've got so much, even though we're missing players at the moment, and we are down to threadbare, it just shows that when we've got everybody available, he's going to be banging his head against a brick wall. He's never going to please everybody. But we've got players, thinking about where McLaughlin can play or where others can play, that can play in so many positions. You might even see JB9 as JB9 as well.
No, not a chance. The reality is we're well equipped at the back. We're happy with the midfield. We're just a bit light in choices of a striker. So he's got an abundance of wealth to play a defensive game, and he will always tell you that the success starts on having a good defensive team. Clean sheets help you to get points, and in fact, you could argue that in the last 3 games we were unlucky to concede a goal because it was a penalty which could have been argued to be dubious.
Nearly saved it as well. It went the right way, didn't it?
Yeah. So we are looking like a team that can hold it firm at the back, and I shall reflect on that when we come to predictions. But the thing is, it's nice to have that problem. And there've been games in the past when he hasn't had that problem because he's been scratching around. And it's good that you've got a JB9 in your squad because you know how flexible he can be. Apart from playing as a striker, I don't know where he can play anywhere on the park, can't he?
I genuinely feel like having Bowery in there. People were questioning his return in the summer, saying maybe it's going to be 1 year too many. He has proven time and time again, Nathan, that having Jordan Bowery as part of your squad is absolutely pivotal because he very rarely gets injured. He's available wherever. He'll play wherever. Give him the gloves, he'll play in goal and keep a clean sheet, save 4 penalties, and go at the other end and score. The Jordan Bowery Bishop Street stand, it has to be. What a man. And it just goes to show, doesn't it, that pretty much 90% of the comments that you see on social media going, I wouldn't drop Bowery. It's been class.
Yeah,
who'd have thought it?
A few years ago, it was very different, wasn't it? Yeah, he started with a bit of more inconsistency, but no, you can't fault him. This last couple of seasons in particular, but also how he started this season, he's been very consistent and very reliable wherever he's played, and he does have to play a lot of positions. We saw him, at the C word. He did have a spell up front and contributed to the second goal with his closing down. His work rate, his passion for the shirt is shining through. So, like I say,
and he's still very fit.
Jack of all trades. What a guy!
And absolutely loves it as well.
Not naming a stand-off.
We are. Ridiculous. I'm telling you, we are. It's happening. And do you know why it's happening? Because we can't settle on one song for him anymore. On Tuesday night, I swear I heard about 4 different songs for Bowery.
So if you're naming the Bishop Street stand after Bowery, are you going to name the urinals after Yassif Youssef or what his name was? The guy.
Adi Youssef.
Yeah, who had his incident in Plymouth.
Well, I mean, those there is a corner, the toilet, the new ladies and disabled toilets are down that way, aren't they? Where he in the same sort of area of the pitch, isn't it? But no,
have us tried that stand out yet?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Nathan. It's almost like you can read my mind because that is exactly what we're going to talk about right now. Obviously, what's Emily said? Just a frame. I saw the word Barry. I've got to read a comment. If it says Barry in it, I'm reading it. Just framed a signed photo of Barry for Rowan's room today. First thing he wanted for his redecorated space. That kid knows his onions. There we go. JB9 replaces Alfie Kilgore. Oh my God. Oh, talking of which, can we give a little bit of applause to the new Oh my God this season, which I'm yet to add to the audio deck, which I will do, which is Sid Pepper's I'm Your Man. Speaking of which, obviously fans were in the Bishop Street stand, or the Jordan Bowery Bishop Street stand, should we say, on Tuesday night for the first time properly. They were in there against Doncaster as well, and there was definitely a few fans that snuck in. But they were there officially for the first time against Blackpool on Tuesday night. It was a great sight to see. And one man who has switched his season ticket to in there is that Cam Felton fella, and he took us on a bit of a tour.
We walk in, toilet facilities for disabled, and I presume the ladies' toilets over there. And then hatched areas where you can't have alcohol, for example. And there's your bar, little area up here. same facilities as everywhere else in the ground, but just on here, very minimal cover there, no coverings at the moment. Maybe something that they can look at for the future. As you walk back towards the stands, bit of a slope up here, all your fire safety stuff and everything, and then into the stand, and on the halfway line it's not a bad view. We'll have a quick look around. Very busy in here, obviously the first game, so he's expected to be busy, but a really good view. Obviously, one way down, one way back up. And there's your way back up from the toilets. And the rest of the stand, obviously can't access that way, but emergency access via the north stand, and then this is your view. Absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, chaps. He ain't getting a job on Homes Under the Hammer anytime soon, is he, Clive?
No.
Nathan,
He's,
as a blind man who couldn't see that, what was his audio descriptive skills like?
I gathered that there was a slope and a good view. That was about it.
But isn't Nathan employed in the media world?
In what sense, Clive?
Well, isn't he a media professional? Doesn't he make his living out of being a media person?
Do you mean
Cam or Nathan?
Sorry, I meant Cam. Did I say Nathan?
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's me cold, Nathan. Sorry. Yeah, I thought he did all right. It was a fan's eye view, and this is all you really want from that. But I've spoken to a number of people who've been in that stand, and they're all perfectly happy with it. I have to say, and why wouldn't they be? I think it'll sell out every week, every home game.
It certainly has had a great reception, Jim, hasn't it? The Bishop Street stand, everyone's swooning over it, and obviously, whilst we've not moved over there and switched our allegiances, we can see it from where we sit, and it was so delightful to look over on Tuesday night, wasn't it, and see it full of Stags fans.
Oh yeah, we've got a ground to be proud of again, haven't we? And the atmosphere is better as well. It's a nice place to be now, the stadium, and it's been a long time coming, but we got there in the end. I know someone at work who's a season ticket holder, and he switched from the Quarry Lane to the Bishop. He said it was all right.
I mean, to the club for making it such a decent price to actually move your season ticket. Well, not move or get a season ticket over there.
I don't know why they've done that.
Really?
I don't think they needed to make it cheaper. Anyway.
Well, I get what you mean, but I suppose we'd already sold probably what they thought were the maximum amount of season tickets that they were going to sell, kind of thing. So.
But anybody who's already bought their season ticket got a credit, didn't they? So
they did, but actually, if you think about it,
only so many can do that.
Think about it though; it's actually quite clever because let's say for argument's sake that 100 people have moved from elsewhere in the ground and switched their season ticket to the Bishop Street stand and got a little bit of money back. Those seats that have moved have therefore become available, which can either become season tickets or match day tickets, one by one, 30 quidders. And actually, when you would do the maths and add that up, the money that they'll lose by giving money back to people that have switched their season tickets, they're going to gain back. So it's actually not a bad move.
It's credit for next year, so it's not. Leaving the pocket.
The other thing about opening the Bishop Street stand up now is it's moved our total capacity beyond the 9,000 mark. And we if you take away the away fans from Tuesday, we had 7,000 home fans. Well, until Bishop Street opened, we'd only got 6,800 home seats available. So it's already starting to pay back. There were plenty of seats in the Quarry Lane end. That's fine. That's going to happen unless you've got a sellout. But I think on another day, on a Saturday, when you've got decent opposition, I think we'll still find ourselves selling out.
Oh yeah, very much so. I think it just adds to the whole experience of the game, Jim. I mean, personally, I'm not interested in sort of going over and moving my season ticket over there. I know people have certainly done so from maybe around where we are as well in the Ingreaves Upper, saying it's maybe too high of a view. I personally like that. I like being sat on top of the game. It gives you an idea of structure. But I'm so pleased that anyone that has gone over there hasn't regretted their choice. It's a good view of the pitch. You get to see the main stand. You're close to the action than what you think, and it bodes well for the club, doesn't it? It's just one of those things which just entices players more and makes it feel more like home, more like progress. 21 years, a long time.
Yeah. It is. It just feels like a serious ground again, doesn't it? I mean, each to their own as to where they prefer to sit and watch the game from. I think one of the reasons it's slightly cheaper is you have got those pillars, haven't you?
Yes.
I wouldn't say restricted view, but not a perfect view. And I think that probably had to come into it as well. But all the facilities are brand new. So, yeah, I mean, each their own. But I'm tempted to watch a cup game from there. But I won't be moving my ticket like you. I'm quite happy with it. I quite like my seat.
Yeah, I'd quite like to go over there, in one of the wee pot trophies. I wouldn't mind going over there and just sampling it for a game.
I doubt. I mean, maybe the club. So many people have actually said that. So normally they only open like lower Ian Greaves, don't they?
Well, this is what I'm thinking, because if they open the Bishop Street stand and then just open the Quarry Lane, it reduced staffing costs. So. And it would be a different view. Anyway, that's by the by. It's certainly another day.
Can I just say, I seriously fancy going over to the other side myself, but I'm in the Ian Greaves lower, and if I move, I'm going to deprive Nigel Clough of the wisdom that I can share with him on a matched basis. It's just not fair. I don't want him to deny him that.
Well, nobody needs to be denying that at all, do they? So I think that is very much a wise move that you don't.
And
do
an act of generosity as well.
Yeah, I would completely agree. Nobody wants to be deprived of your wisdom.
No.
And also if you do move over there, you're going to be in the same stand as Cam, because Cam's now moved his ticket over there. So
has he? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's everyone moving back then.
Everyone's moving back now, aren't they? Everyone's moving back. Cam sat there crying.
Well, Bishop Street's empty on Saturday. We all know why.
Exactly right. As much as we're raving over the Bishop Street stand and the best damn toilets in the land, which of course apparently are the best damn toilets in the land from the reviews that we've seen so far, the Jordan Bowery Bishop Street stand is not the only new addition to Mansfield Town Football Club over the last couple of weeks or so. And I'm not talking about Paul Dickoff's son Max either. At the training ground, Nathan, building work has been taking place, and all of a sudden, over the last couple of days or so, we've got a video that's popped up on social media, and we've got a fully functioning gym. And I'm not talking about Jim Evans.
No. Yeah, there was talk about this at the sponsors meeting that I went to, and 1-0. But they were talking about a little bit. They were talking about obviously how was just about finished at that point, and how they was hoping that that's going to bring a lot, help us a lot in sort of the regards to the injuries, because obviously I mean we've always gone to gyms and things like that, but I think having our own, and certainly it's going to be used by all the different age categories and the youngsters. So hopefully it'll bring us up another level in regards to the strength and conditioning and that sort of the body performance side of things. So, but yeah, I mean, if that can at least help us a little bit of getting a few less injuries, even if it's 5% less, it's a big bonus. But I think it's going to be another one of them over the next few years. You might see a bit of an impact, especially with like I say, the youth teamers and youngsters coming through. I know Nigel mentioned a lot in his press conference again about you see the difference with Premier League players and Championship players in particular, and the same with the players we're getting on loan from that level. You see the difference in how they develop as youngsters because of having those sort of facilities. So us introducing them to our already attractive setup in a training ground is only going to be a benefit to both the players we've got and attracting new players in the future.
We've got the land to do it as well. It's exactly where the strides that we should be making. We do need to think of a name for it. Maybe the Reese Oates Rehabilitation Wing or something like that, or the Lee Gregory Get Back on Track Suite or something. I don't know. The name needs work. But joking aside, Jim, have you seen the video on social media of the new gymnasium, or have you had a look at it?
I have seen the video, and note all social media followers, Dave was in there too. And I'll just leave that at that.
Thank you. Avoiding the yellow card.
I'm amazed we haven't had something like this before, to be honest with you. You'd have thought at a professional football team, a fully functioning gym would have been a pretty basic prerequisite. So I'm amazed it's long, if I'm honest, but we've got it now. And it looks nice. It looks good. And it can only help, can't it? Again, it's another thing, along with the Bishop Street, the gym, the improved facilities at the RH, it's all things that will attract players for sure. If I was looking around as a player and you see all this stuff, I think it oils the wheels to signing, doesn't it?
It makes it much more attractive proposition, Clive, because if you're a player that comes in, you look around the training ground, previously there was a gym of sorts there. It was in one of the buildings opposite the changing rooms, but it was a tiny little room. I think like one exercise bike, one running machine, because it was limited by space. So not everybody could be in there at the same time. You look at this facility now, that opens up that room to become something else. You've got this gym, which everyone can go in at the same time and do the rehab work. It makes it feel like a much more conducive training facility. And if you come and have a look around that and you think, wow, I like the look at this place, and then go somewhere down the road into League Two that perhaps doesn't have the same facilities, or you've got to get in the car to go to the local DW or whatever the local gym is around there, Pure Gym or insert generic name of gym here. It just ticks another box, and again, it shows the commitment from the owners to put money into the club and develop the training ground, and utilize the income that we've got from increased season ticket sales, player sales. You look at, we might have got a bit of money for Keanu Bacchus. We got money for Will Swan last year, DKD, a few others as well. Ollie Clark, I think we might have got a bit for, or whatever. The deals that we've done, it hasn't just been gone and lined the owners' pockets. They've gone, right, where can we make some significant changes and develop our club for the future? And it's exactly in those areas that they've gone and done it. Yeah,
I think the head physio up there said it's great to be able to put the whole squad in one room. And so when he's, supervising physical improvement programs, it's good to have them all together because he got them all over the place at one time. I think the only thing that has to happen next, and I think there are plans afoot for this, is to have a covered pitch. And I think, am I right in thinking they've bought the land across the road with a view to doing that?
Yeah.
It might not happen for a couple of years, but that would make sense because most really good training facilities have got a pitch that's covered in terms of a full-size pitch under cover. And Mansfield hasn't got that. I'm not saying many at our level have, but it would be the right thing to go for next, I think.
Yeah, indoor pitch, I think, with maybe a little bit of a indoor sports hall type space as well, which would be
well, and they could raise some, they could make a bit of money out of it as well, by making it available to the community. So
absolutely. Positives all round. We just need to think of a name for it. I think the Resoaps Rehabilitation Suite's got a little bit of a ring to it, hasn't it, Jim?
No.
Yeah, I guess it has. We could take the piss out of it all day long, couldn't we? But I don't know. I don't know what I'd call it, really. About time, I'd call it.
Yeah, about time is right. But again, it's just really good to see the investment, Nathan. I know a few people in the comments were sort of saying about, little bits of areas which, perhaps need to be addressed. I think someone mentioned about, the toilets in the upper tier, running water, etc., and maybe for the marquee as well. But it's not like we're ignoring it. We are making these changes slowly but surely. And I think now, we mentioned it a few weeks ago, now that Mark Hawkins is in post in his new role, things are starting to develop a little bit more, aren't they? And all we need to do is get to Sid on the phone and say, Sid, right, you've sorted the best done toilets in the land in the Jordan Bowery Bishop Street stand. Can you get yourself into the Ian Grieve stand? Because we need some fresh bog roll. It's got to happen. Nathan's disappeared at that exact point. I don't know what's happened to him. So we'll move swiftly on and do this.
The game of luck, who gives up, don't mess it up. I hear you say, how do you play? Win, lose or draw, then pick a score and one more thing. Pick a hero, won't score 0, that's the game. But we're not fools. This game has rules. It gets on time, you'll be fine. Remember the rhyme. Podcast predictions. Remember the rhyme. Guess on time, you'll be fine. Remember the rhyme. The best predictions.
So, podcast predictions then. Right, let's first and foremost start by giving the results from the last couple of games or so. Because obviously people have been asking for them as ever. Ben, our podcast predictions guru, has been on holiday, but he's back and he's given me the latest. So let's start with the extra game then for, shall we, match 3. 10 people correctly predicted a 2-1 victory, but also by picking Evans as their player. Only 2 people were joint winners, and they were Will Pound and Matt Piercy. Player points in that game, Fraser Blake Tracy would have earned you 9. Evans and Reed got you 8. Cargill got you 6. Maris McDonald got you 5. Bolton, Bowery, Lewis and Roberts got you 4. Hendry, Hewitt and Noyle got you 2. Little Nobby Welsh, Dickoff and McAdam would have got you 1 and -5 for anyone else. And for Tuesday night's excellent 2-0 win, 5 people predicted 2-0. However, there were only 2 people who were joint winners because they also picked McDonald as their fancy player, giving them both 33 points for Tuesday night, and they were Matt Piercy and Craig Foster. Fancy points wise, McDonald was a great choice on Tuesday night. He would have picked you up 18 points. Bowery and Noyle got you 9. Hendry got you 8. FBT, Cargill and Roberts got you 7 apiece. Bolton would have got you 5. If you selected Lewis Reed, you got 4. Dickoff would have got you 3. 1 for Lewis, Hewitt, McAdam, Mariah Welsh and Dwyer, and none for Evans. Plenty of movement in the podcast predictions table. I can tell you that there is a current overall leader. He's won the past 2 games. It's Matt Piercy, and I've reliably informed that he has only actually started predicting over the last 2 games. So it just goes to show that
cheating.
No matter when you start, not cheating, no matter when you start predicting, you can pick up points very, very quickly indeed. We are going to do 2 predictions for this game. We're going to do Leyton Orient and then Lincoln, because next Thursday there will not be a podcast because obviously we've got a game on Wednesday night at Everton, and I've got something on Thursday night, so there's no other day that I can do it. But we'll try and do maybe something at the weekend after that. But so we're doing Leyton Orient and Lincoln on tonight's podcast. We're going to start with Leyton Orient, Jim, at home on Saturday. I need your prediction, please.
1-1 and Bolton.
Clive, you're up next.
1-1 Reed.
1-1 Reed, okay. I am going to go for a 2-2 draw, and I am going to select as my player. I am going to go for McDonald for my player. I'll go for Lincoln as well. I think we'll nick it at Lincoln. I think we're going to win 2-1 at Lincoln, and I'm going to choose for my player in that game. I'm going to go for Bailey Cargill. Clive.
2-0 win. O'Donnell. McDonald.
Donald indeed. Okay, and Jim, finish it off for us.
1-1 McDonald.
Excellent. As always, if you want to get involved in podcast predictions, you can do so via the link in the description. You must do so no later than 90 minutes before kickoff, now that the EFL have changed when team news gets put out. And yes, we really want you to get involved in it, as it's shown with Matt over the last 2 games. If you get involved with podcast predictions late, don't worry about it. We will, you can still pick up many more points. So there you go. That's podcast predictions, and we'll have the full end of August table. Guess when? The end of August. So that's podcast predictions for you. Thanks so much for playing along with that. Right, that's almost all we've got time for on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. Tough game on Saturday. Clive Leyton Orient, as we say, 1 defeat in the last 11 games. They're always a tough side to break down, but hopefully we can take a bit of this momentum and get more people in the Jordan Bowery Bishop Street stand, make some noise and make it a tough place for people to come. You're muted again.
Oh dear.
We could all see what you said there.
Yeah, I'm doing this because I keep barking at this end. I didn't want to do it and deafen people. It should be a corking game, I think.
Yeah, it really should. Jim, important to try and take the momentum in, but I think we'd snap our hands off now for a draw, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think so. The 2 wins have took the pressure off us, on the table. I know it's early, but just try and keep this performance going. This going, and as I say, points will look after themselves. But yes, a point Saturday's a good result, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, Clive, thanks so much for your input tonight. As always. Sadly, that's all we've got time for on this week's Mansfield Matters podcast. My thanks, as ever, for the podcast panel for joining me. And, of course, to you guys at home for watching and for listening. Don't forget, if you want to take part in podcast predictions, you can do so via the link in the description. A reminder that you cannot pick the same player in consecutive matches or you'll lose 5 points. And, of course, that you must submit your predictions no later than 90 minutes before kick-off. All the rules and the details are available via the link. If you want to get involved and watch the show live, make sure you follow us on all things social media to find out when we're next going to be live. And join us next week as we head towards the end of the transfer window and we look ahead to one final game in August, plus recap the Leyton Orient game and that trip to Everton in midweek. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters Podcast. Good night!